Hey everyone, welcome back to Foley Systems. I'm Blake, and in this video, we're setting up a brand new Active Directory domain in Windows Server 2025. I'll walk you through everything you need to get set up and running: domain services, Active Directory, DNS, DHCP, and even WINS for those legacy applications that still need it. Whether you're building a home lab or configuring a production environment, this step-by-step guide will get your network services deployed the right way. Let's get started. So, once you get Windows installed, the first thing you'll see is the Server Manager dashboard. So, let's first configure Active Directory. So, we'll go up here to Manage, Add Rules and Features. You can skip this page by default. So, the installation type is we're doing role based. The server is going to be the default server. And here, you want to select Active Directory Domain Services, include management tools. Leave that selected by default. Click Add Feature. Next. We're going to scroll down to features until we find WINS. That way we can install Active Directory and WINS at the same time. You can install more than one server row. So if you need DHCP, we'll go ahead and select that. DNS, network policy, web server, Windows deployment service is useful if you're going to be deploying a single ISO or multiple ISOs, really. Let's say you deploy computers every day or enterprise is growing. Windows deployment services, you throw an ISO image for Windows and it will grab that ISO image from the network. Like, say, your client, your computer, you just set up, will grab that ISO from the server and deploy that Windows ISO image that you custom made or just have default. It's a lot simpler setup for a larger enterprise. Even Hyper-V, if you're going to do virtualization, which would say, well, we know ESXi, well, if your processor supports virtualization capabilities, which it should. Mine is not right now because I'm currently in a virtual machine. So we'll go skip through web server. If you need NFTP, so file transfer protocol, enable that. So just make sure everything looks good. Restart the server if it needs to be, and then the install begins. I'll be back once the installation's finished. Alrighty, and then our installation has completed successfully. So we'll go ahead and click close. Up in the right corner, you'll see a little flag with a warning icon. I'll go ahead and click that. It will ask us to configure DHCP and remote this to a domain controller. So if this is your first server on the network and you want to start a domain, just go ahead and select this domain controller. What we're going to do is add a new forest, since it's the only domain controller, and we're starting this out. Give it a name, like let's say example.com, so your domain. Or if this is for a home lab, you could just use .local, even .com. You could use any top-level domain, so you give it a custom one. We could say sys. It's up to you what you want to name it, but local works the best, especially for browsers. Let's say you have this web server. Well, that's going to be foley.local. Let's say you have TrueNAS, and you want to say nas.foley.local, or whatever your domain would be. Your browser will navigate to that because it has a .local. If you have something else like sys, then you might need to add the HTTP, HTTPS in front of the browser. So local is an easier setup. Now, if this is not your first domain controller, then you'll go back and just add controller to the existing domain. But if it is, we get to select the function level. So select the newest one. Before it was back to 2016 on older server versions, but now 2025 has the newest function level. And you want your restored password. You want to keep this safe. So make sure you have it written down. This helps you recover your domain services. And as it says, the domain cannot found the parent zone, which is normal. Now, NetBIOS name will automatically give you one. You could change it, of course. Just take some precaution. Sometimes it'll work half the time, sometimes it won't. So always take that as a precaution. The paths, once it loads, it will automatically generate those paths for you. So you'll just keep it as default unless you have different paths in plan. So review, everything looks good to me. And then it's going to do prereq check. So it's going to make sure everything's okay to go before it installs. Now, once you set up this domain controller, it's going to have you restart the server. So all prereqs are good. And now it starts the installation. I'm going to pause the video right here, and I'll get back to you once the installation is completed. As we can see, it's applying the settings. So any features you add, Active Directory, or any major changes you add to it, it'll restart the computer. It'll apply all the new configurations you made. So this could take a bit, as again, it's according to your hardware. It could be fast or slow. It could take anywhere from 5 minutes. Had it at one point take up to 20, which is typical of Windows. But just be patient as it's applying settings in the registry. I'll get back to you once it has fully applied those settings. All right, we're back. And now it is fully configured. So we'll go ahead and type our username and the password to reset during installation. You get this little pesky window pop up saying use Azure Arc today. Just go ahead and skip the message. Unless you're planning to do cloud deployment. So if you want to have a on-prem server and then an off-prem server, which is necessary now, you're a really good setup. Costs you quite a bit of money. All right, so we still got this warning flag, so we need to configure the DHCP. So before we do that, let's go ahead and change the server name. So we'll go to local server, computer name, change. So just warning you, this can be moved from one domain to another. But since we haven't fully set up computers on the domain yet, we'll go ahead and change the name. You can name it anything. I'm just going to go ahead and call mine Radius. That way you don't have to remember all that beautiful junk. And go ahead and restart your server. So once Server Manager comes back up, now we can configure DHCP. There's two ways to do it. You go back to this flag and click Configure DHCP now, or you go under Tools and then click DHCP. Or you can even go to the search bar, look up DHCP, it'll still pop up there. So as we can see, the server has already been pre-authorized. So we're going to configure an IPv4 scope. Go ahead and more actions, new scope. Give it a name. So you can say your IoT network, your secure network, your management, your employee, even your security. For this, we're just going to say our secure network. Description, anything you want it to be. The best way you know what its purpose is for. Now we're going to define a range. So our starting, let's do a 10.2 you could do your 10 dots, your 172s, your 19. Trying to remember, I think it's 192.168. Yep, there it is. You do that range as well. A range that you're going to use for your company, your home lab. So for your enterprise, your subnet ranges. For our demonstration, I have a home lab. So we're just going to do our 10 dots. Let's start it there, and we'll end it here. And I want to do a 16-bit length. So you can add your exclusion / delay, which you don't have any, your release time. I'm going to set mine to where it really doesn't expire. And it's going to say, do you want to configure these scopes now? So like our DNS, WINS, etc. We're going to do that. Default gateway is going to be a router. Add multiple of those. Your DNS servers, which will just have this server itself. Then our WINS server, we're going to add this server as well, which I guess see 236. Or I have a domain controller on my main network, so that's where it's getting the WINS server from. And I'm going to go ahead and activate the scope now, and we'll hit finish. So we got the DHCP portion of this completed. You'll see your leases, so you can refresh them, see what device has them. But since I already have a DHCP, I'm going to deactivate my scope. And now we have DHCP configured. Now let's check our DNS server, which we already did this complete. So we just have to authorize it. Use the following credentials, commit, and close. Now we're going to check our DNS. Our forward lookup zone, as we can see here, there's our server. And we'll check our Active Directory, users and computers, to make sure that domain is set up. And this is where you can add your organization units. We could say clients, or even your home lab name. And then you can add a user. And then give that password. They could change that password. And while I got that user, you can add groups. So if you want to add a new group, do new group, give it a group name. And then you can add your user to that group. Just being a little pesky. We go to members. But add to a group, you could do administrators. So you can make them part of the administrators. You can check the properties. So you can see they're the administrators. You got your members. You can have a person that manages them. And that's the basic of Active Directory. You got your computers, of course. So if you need to add a new computer, the name, it's computer name pre-Windows 2000 if you need to. You can change its group. But you'll have your Active Directory set up. You have your DHCP, your DNS. We can even check the ISS manager. Make sure it has a site enabled, which it looks like it does. We'll check it. That's where we go. And that is it. We set up our domain, configured Active Directory, DNS, DHCP, even wins. So if you need to check your wins, it will go under Tools, your win server, and it will show your active registrations, application, even server status. As we tell, it's updating. To make sure everything runs smoothly, even for those old school systems, I'm Blake, and this is Foley Systems. Thanks for hanging out. If you found this video helped you out, hit that like button and subscribe for more home lab builds, server setups, enterprise tech walkthroughs. Got questions or something specific you want to see next? Drop a comment below. I'll see you in the next one.